Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Completionist. For this episode, I'm going to do episode 2 of my favorite anime of all time. During the first episode of this series, I talked about what some of my favorite anime were that I still had on VHS tape. And for episode 2, guys, I'm going to focus on anime that I loved that was lucky enough to be released on syndicated television long before anime was even popular in the West, even though one of the anime you're going to see pretty much helped popularize anime in the North American market. The thing is that for anyone who's watched my channel, obviously, I'm a video game collector that mainly sticks to anime-style games. But I wouldn't collect anime-style games unless anime was actually relevant to me. And these anime that were lucky enough to be released on television in the North American market, from the late 1980s to the mid 1990s, really helped define my anime taste. And even though, like the series I'm going to mention, when I watched them on Canadian and American television, they're definitely not uncut, and they were all dubbed when I watched them. But it kind of opened my eyes, to anime in general, and that's when I got to watch much more violent types of anime, anime that weren't allowed to, go beyond the boundaries, of showing blood and violence and nudity and things along those lines. So the anime I'm going to show you is to my right, and I have a total of 5 television series. All of them are licensed sets. None of them are bootlegs or copies, and a lot of them you can find for sale online, and they really help define my anime taste. And all of the 5 series have a strange thing in common. They all have a Canadian aspect to it, and that Canadian aspect really made me enjoy these series, because I got to watch every one of these series on a Canadian TV channel. It wasn't an American TV channel, because you got to understand that, in the small community I grew up in, we never got cable in our community until 1989, and that's, pretty much almost unheard of. Everybody's had cable for, basic cable, for a really long time. But, for the most part, the only American channels, when we first got our basic cable package, was literally CBS, ABC, NBC, and PBS. All the other channels at the time were all Canadian channels, and those were the channels that I got to see all these anime for the first time. So anyway, guys, let's get started with the first anime. Okay. So the first anime came out on YTV in the early 1990s. It used to come on Saturday morning, late morning, and the biggest problem with this anime is that this anime came on exactly the same time as another cartoon that I enjoyed to watch as well. So it was really hard for me, to kind of pick a cartoon as a kid that I wanted to watch that morning. And the cartoon that this anime had to fight with was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that used to come on CBS, I think it was. And I didn't even know of this cartoon at the time. Basically, I think I was watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on CBS, and it was a rerun. It was something that I had already seen before. So I would quickly go through the channels, like the good old-fashioned way, turning the knob and not using a remote control. And then I came across YTV, and the anime that YTV was showing at the time was an anime called Samurai Pizza Cats. And I was pretty much hooked from the very first episode. This anime, it's so funny because you have so many anime purists that, you know, that will never give a dubbed anime a shot. They think dubbed anime is the worst thing that's ever happened to the genre. You know, people are subtitle purists. But even though I am a dubbed fan, and even though a lot of people don't like that, this is one of the few anime in which the dub completely outshines the actual original Japanese audio. They really put a lot of work into this because the series is really funny and it's really humorous, and like there's a ton of episodes in this. I think this set has a total of 52 episodes. And, you know, basically what Samurai Pizza Cats is that, you know, you have three cats who work at a pizza place, and they each have a superpower, and then at the end of every episode, you know, they have to go up against the villainous Big Cheese and Bad Bird and his army of ninja crows. And usually at the end of every episode, you know, they have to fight a giant robot of some sort. So, but the dub for this anime is incredibly funny. You know, it will make jokes about anything. I find it, you know, really hilarious. Like it's really hard for me to hate on any character in this series because every character in this series has their shining moments, because, you know, it has really excellent action in it, but it also has some really great comedy. You know, everybody has their moments. You know, everybody from, you know, Speedy Cerviche to Guido Anchovy to Polyester to the rescue team, the Bad Bird, Big Cheese, Emperor Fred, Guru Lou, Big Al Dente. It's amazing that I can still remember so many names of the characters, but I think the character in this series that has the best amount of comedy associated to her is a character by the name of Princess Vi. And Princess Vi gets angered really easily, and she doesn't like to be disappointed, and she thinks everybody should be on her beck and call. And she has a line that I find is a really classic line in this series, because because if she doesn't get her own way, then she'll just send people to Prisoner Island. So she doesn't like to be disappointed or anything along those lines. And there's a scene in one of the episodes of this anime. I'm going to try to act out a little bit. You know, you have Princess Vi just walking along, and she trips and she falls on the floor. And then she gets all furious and looks at the floor and says, "How dare you trip me, floor? I'm sending you to Prisoner Island." And obviously the floor is a very is an inanimate object, so you know you can't send the floor to Prisoner Island. But a lot of the episodes have its share of hilarious moments. And if you do watch this series, I highly recommend you watch it dubbed, because not only are all the characters hilarious, but the narrator in the series is really hilarious as well. And the actual Canadian connection with this anime is that a lot of the voice actors, I think probably all the voice actors, or a great majority of the voice actors for this, are all Canadian. So you know, I kind of consider it, you know, a Canadian dub, and in a scatter episode, you know, they'll actually make a Canadian reference, or you know, a Canadian joke. You know, they'll just put it in and think it might not be noticed, but I actually picked up on it, you know, when I used to watch the series for the first time. You know, one of my really good friends, you know, he's a huge fan of this series as well. And for the longest time, this anime never had a licensed box set. So when the series used to first air on YTV, he used to videotape all the episodes, and before this set even got released, he actually had all the episodes on tape, except maybe for one or two of them. But and also one of the best things about this release is that even though the dubbed version that was released in North American audiences, is it's not uncut. There's a few scenes that are cut out of it, but they've actually released an uncut subtitled version of this television show. So if the dub is not appealing to you, then you actually have the opportunity to buy the subtitled uncut version, because and my best friend does own the uncut subtitled version, and he said there are a few differences. Some of the jokes may be a little risque, I guess, but he says that the subtitled version is just as enjoyable as the dubbed version. But the dubbed version is the one that I have the fondest memories for. So if you see this for sale, you can find it easily online. I highly recommend you give it a shot. All right, so the next anime that I have, it's actually my wife's favorite show of all time. For my Canadian viewers, this show used to come on ASN, which is the Atlantic Satellite Network. This was a network that I got to watch shows like Transformers and G.I. Joe and things along those lines. And it used to come on weekdays. I think between 4:30 and 5:30 in the afternoon. And I had no idea this cartoon even existed. And usually when I watch any cartoons, as a kid or as a teenager, I'll give it a try, no matter what it is. I'll watch the first episode, I'll see if it's enjoyable, and then I'll go from there. And when I watched the first episode of this anime, I was completely hooked. And even though I did not know it was an anime at the time, it's a story that's been told in different variations, in books and movies and in animated features and stuff along those lines. But one of the most surprising things I found about this anime is that it taught a lot of good lessons, and it wasn't a sugar-coated anime. In all honesty, I wouldn't necessarily call it a violent anime, but characters did die in this series. And they never tried to push it off, in something like Dragon Ball Z. Instead of somebody dying, you get sent to another dimension. Characters actually died in this, and they actually focused on a lot of great lessons, great life lessons. And it's actually a really enjoyable anime with some really memorable characters. And what the anime is that it's called The Jungle Book, or it's known as Shonen Mowgli. Sorry, let me pronounce that better. Shonen Mowgli. And this is a great series. It's a long series. It has 52 episodes in it. But the characters in this are really wonderful. And, whoever was behind actually translating this and dubbing this did an excellent job. They found the perfect English voices to match each of the characters. Obviously the Jungle Book story, Mowgli was raised by wolves and things along those lines, and then you have Shere Khan, the tiger, wanting to kill the boy, and you have a lot of recurring Jungle Book characters in this series. You have Baloo the bear, and you have Bagheera the panther, and Kaa the python. But I think one of the reasons why this anime was so good is that it really had a gripping story. And the story was continuous. it wasn't a series in which every episode was its self-contained story. You know, it was really one long continuous story. And for a while I was watching this, as a young teenager, I really thought that the series was never going to end, because the series did move at a good pace, and I didn't want it to end, because the show just had that very addictive factor to it. And that was one of the things that, that really made it enjoyable. They had several plot stories going on. They had plenty of episodes dedicated to character development. From anything from Mowgli and his friends fighting a terrible group of wolves, a leader and his two minions, to fighting Shere Khan, to dealing with the struggles of living in a human village, of being captured in a human village, finding, the love of his life, trying to be accepted by humans, trying to be accepting of the jungle and to learn the laws of the jungle. There's even a phrase, there's an episode of how to gain respect within the jungle with regards to jungle animals. I even remember this phrase. And I guess if Mowgli ever encounters, an animal that he's unaware of, or like anything along those lines, if he wants to show respect to that animal in the environment that he lives in, then he has to look at the animal and he has to say the phrase, we be in one blood, you and I. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. And I'm very surprised, I even remember that. But for as good as the story is, there are a few episodes that are incredibly tragic. There are characters in this anime that do die. And, as a kid and as a teenager watching this, you're not prepared for it. There's another episode in this series that Mowgli ends up saving a deer. And when he meets that deer again, and the deer decides to attack him, and he doesn't understand because, earlier in the episode he's just saved that deer's life, and then he ends up having a battle with the deer, or the gazelle, or whatever you want to call it. And at the end of the episode, as much as it hurt him to do it, he actually ended up killing the deer. There's also another great episode in this series, very late in the series, where they talk about the story of how a tiger got its stripes. And you can really learn a lot from this anime series. I really never ever thought this would have ever got a licensed release, because it was so obscure. And it was kind of funny because I grew up loving this show. But I had never met a lot of people who even watched this. And surprisingly enough, when I met my wife, she actually had just as many fond memories of this show as what I did. And it's one of the reasons why I found this show really enjoyable. And you can actually watch full episodes of this show, on YouTube. You just got to type in Jungle Book anime, and you can actually come across, a lot of episodes for that series, and it really is worth a watch. I don't know if this show was ever shown in America. I know it has been showed in different parts of the world, with different dubs, but I've only ever seen this one, just the English dubbed version. I've never seen this series uncut or subtitled. I don't know if there's an uncut version of this series. It wouldn't surprise me, but it's something that's really enjoyable. And if you actually want a series that tells a really good story and and tugs at the heartstrings a bit, I highly recommend it, and you'll definitely get your money's worth. This anime series, it does have 52 episodes, and I can guarantee you the majority of those episodes are really good, and they tell a really good story. And strangely enough, these two series have something in common. A lot of the voice actors in both these series are the same people. For example, the voice of Bad Max in this anime is and Bad Max is a member of the Rude Noise, which is, I guess, the rescue team equivalent, for the Ninja Crows. They're just a bad bunch of birds, and each of them got a cool superpower. But the voice for Bad Max in this series is the voice of Bagheera the Panther in this series. And he's actually one of my favorite voice actors of all time. I think his name is Arthur Grosser. I could be pronouncing that wrong, but a lot of the same voice actors ended up doing both series. So technically, I call this a Canadian dub because a lot of the voice talent for the Jungle Book came from Canada as well.